Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me on a boiling day here in Florida, although thankfully with a little bit of a breeze, which makes it slightly more bearable. But today I'm here visiting H Greg Lux, just north of Miami, who have the most insane luxury car showroom. Inside it is filled with Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, Porsches and plenty more, including a LaFerrari, a Senna, an SF90, an SLR, you get the point. But today I've come to check this out, a car that fascinates me, a car that I actually expressed interest in myself and would have considered adding to the Shmeemobiles for reasons I would like to explain today. This is the Porsche 911 Targa 4S Heritage Design Edition. It is one of a limited run of 992 cars in total, numbered after the 992 codename of this generation of the 911. They do in fact have this and two others of the 992 here at H Greg Lux at the moment. 3 out of nearly 1,000 cars in total. This is in the cherry red metallic, but it has so many very special and standout details which really add up to me to much more than the sum of their parts, as I will explain as we take a look around it, go through all of the details from the team at Porsche Exclusive Manufacturer, and then take it out for a short little run. And this car also is a manual to see what it's like on the road and to think about whether I should perhaps still be adding one. So let's take a look today then here at the Heritage Design 911 Targa. Let's take a look then at this stunning car, particularly here in the Florida sunshine. The paint color is looking magnificent, and we can run through all of the awesome details that Porsche have incorporated the heritage nods into this special edition, the first of 4 that they're intending to do, 4 different models, and this being based on the Targa. Now it's a big thanks to the team here at H Greg Lux for the opportunity to pop down today to check this out. We have some of their other stock outside, the G-Wagons and the G63s, the Escalades, the Range Rovers, just some of the hundreds of cars that they actually have on their inventory, and we'll have a quick look inside later on. But to explore this then, in the cherry red metallic, it looks beautiful. This paint color is marvelous, a very deep, very rich metallic red paint, one of the 4 different options that you could choose for the heritage car before going into the full library of the PTS colors, but effectively cherry red, GT silver, the black, or going for chalk, or as we know it over in the UK, crayon, that grey color. But this would arguably be my choice. They have 2 of these here at the moment, this one being the manual, the other with the PDK gearbox, the 7-speed dual clutch, and also the chalk car with the PDK as well. But this is quite something. The Targa is, let's say, a heritage model to begin with. The fact that it incorporates this rollover in the metal finish makes it link back to those older models, first launching back in the 1960s, 1967 in fact, and missing out 1 or 2 generations, but brought back for the 991, 991.2, and again in this car the 992, the code name for the model, hence the 992 units that they've made in total, about half the number of the 991.2 Speedsters. This is a very rare car. Now mechanically it is a Targa 4, that means we've got the 4-wheel drive, the 3-litre turboed flat 6, we've got 450 horsepower, 530 newton meters, 0 to 62 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour in 3.8 seconds. But it's all about the details, the extra things that have been added to this from the team at Porsche Exclusive Manufacturer. Now to begin at the very front, the first of them is the badge. This is actually the classic Porsche badge as opposed to the more modern ones. This is the original badge, and everywhere you see the Porsche crest, for example on the wheels, on the steering wheel, it's always the classic badge as opposed to the new one. Then you have the design livery over the top, these blades that run over the front wings reminiscent of older Porsches. You have the roundel on the doors. And in fact, ordering the car new from factory, you could choose exactly which number you'd like to have on it, with this inverted Porsche script running across the bottom, another detail that I really quite like. We've got the Sport Classic style wheels with the diamond turned face with the gloss black on the inside of the spokes. Then as we come round towards the rear, you start to see more of these gold details which contrast beautifully against the red paintwork, the Porsche logo under that brake light, the 911 Targa 4S badge here, the classic Heritage 911 logo itself in fact. But mechanically, as I said, it's the Targa, it's the Targa 4, which I've not actually driven myself, or the Targa 4S, of course, the top spec model, the 4-wheel drive model. We also have more details back here, Porsche Heritage badge, similar to those that have been worn by Heritage models in the past. Obviously the engine of a 911 sitting in the back. Something interesting heading out in the background over that away. But then inside, Gold details continue. In fact, even the key comes in this beautifully presented leather pouch to match the interior materials of this particular car. The handles pop on out, and in here, look at this. Look at the materials, look at the style, look at the corduroy seat inserts, the lovely finish that we have in here, the dual tone in the red and cream to complement the exterior, to mix the modern Porsche with these heritage elements. I mean, Porsche 911s continue this 5-style dashboard display as they always were, having the key, although it's keyless, having the toggle that you rotate to start the car there on the left-hand side. Of course, we've got the 7-speed manual in here, and I think the car deserves a manual with that heritage link, especially on something so special, the Heritage Design Edition. If I take a seat inside, you can see even more of these details. Again, that classic Porsche crest, the green labelling on the central rev counter, looking stunning, but of course the digital setup for the newer car. If we just turn on the ignition, and this is basically a brand new car, so we need to take it fairly easy today and just get a small taster for what it's all about. And I'll obviously have to get the air conditioning on in just a moment. Even the sport chrono clock here in the center has those green labelings around it as well. This is a car that, to me, when you're sitting here, has been so well thought out. It's not just something run-of-the-mill, it's something really special, and they're actually individually numbered as well. Over on the passenger side of the dashboard, you have that plaque, that badge, the Heritage Design Edition, and the number out of the 992. But this is, of course, before we've even spoken about the roof, because being the Targa, that is a very special part of it. In fact, I'm just going to start the car up to make sure that we have the engine running for a moment here, and close up the roof, because this is really something to watch as the process happens. It's a magical thing. That whole rear canopy opens towards the back, the soft top folds up, it takes 19 seconds in total, latches itself into place, and then that rear section closes back down. Now, you do have to be at a standstill in order to be able to do this, but when it's done, obviously you're then in the coupe-like 911 Targa, and particularly in here with the air conditioning running, which is an absolute blessing at the moment because it is far, far, far too hot. But I do want to quickly show this from the outside. You can get a little look at this. You've got comfort access, and the seat slides back as soon as you open up the door. You can use this rear section for some storage, and if you pull the lever here, that does in fact open up. There we go, that opens towards the back. It's just really cool to see that moving. This is for your access towards the engine. You can't see an awful lot. And a small storage area back here. You can fold the seats down. As you can see, there's not a lot of space back there, just a little bit of space, and the rear occupants would always feel like they're inside that glass bubble that you have at the back. It's a very, very cool process to watch the roof mechanism on this car. That traditional link done in a modern way, smooth, quiet, efficient, easy, and all around very, very elegant. So let me climb back inside and go take this for a drive. As I'm getting ready to go out, I'm looking at the thermometer on the dashboard that says 73 degrees Fahrenheit. That cannot be right. It must be over 100 today. Anyway, not my first time driving a manual 911. I've driven the manual 901.2 GT3 and the Speedster as well. And it's quite interesting to think about this car versus, in some ways, the Speedster. Of course, in here we've got the turbocharged 3-litre engine as opposed to the 4-litre naturally aspirated engine. So quite a different feel from that front, but both very, very special cars. Porsche doing what they know how to do best. Now, I was first drawn in a way to the Targa because it is one of my girlfriend's favourite cars. Not so much the Heritage, but the Targa in general, and actually the chalk one is just here as well. The chalk or crayon one is just here at the moment too. It's not, of course, the loudest thing in the world. As we start moving here, it's pretty quiet. You do have a number of different controls, and you can open the exhaust and change your driving modes and do all of these kind of fun things and set it up, and we'll go through Sport and Sport Plus in a moment. But being a new car, you need to go a little bit gentle with it and keep the miles down. But let's go for a bit of a cruise and get a small feel for this. And a manual gearbox is always just such a raw feeling, and in this car you actually feel more of the, let's say, clunks and mechanical feel of it than I expected. There's a heavy clutch pedal, but that makes you even more connected with the car itself as well. You can go, as I said, into the car settings. It's all done through touch screens, and hit the exhaust button and it will get ever so slightly louder. Pop it up into Sport or Sport Plus. You can toggle the dial on the steering wheel as well, should you prefer to do that. Get a a small bit of noise, not the loudest thing in the world. It does actually feel really good. I mean, 911s have always been drivers' cars, right? They've always had that sense of connection, and that's what you feel in here straight away. Head out and go over this way. Very good seating position, very clear view of everything that's around you. Obviously driving with the roof up, I don't know if I can handle it. Part of me feels that because I'm in a Targa, I probably need to put that roof down. The other part of me also thinks because I'm in Florida, that would be a really, really bad idea. So what appeals to me then about this car? You know, I had a 991.2 GT3, I had a PDK car with full club sport spec, the bucket seats, the cage, the harnesses, the full works basically. And that was a car that I didn't really gel with. It felt more like a daily car, and perhaps if I had spec'd it with a manual with some comfort seats instead of the buckets and without the cage that tinkers away in the background, it might have changed what the car was to me and made it that little bit more usable. But this, I suppose, is that. It's a car it's not trying to be a track car like many of the other cars in my collection, but it is special with all of these different elements and details. And you can spec it. You could choose to have whichever color you would like, for example. You do choose the optional options and the tech spec side of things, but just driving along, put the window down ever so slightly there, it's a very nice daily car. It's a car that I think you can happily live with if you don't mind doing the miles on something which arguably is also quite a collector's car. You've obviously got to be a little bit aware of that these days as well, especially with the price tags that these are currently commanding. They have absolutely shot up. Oh, it also blips down as well in sport. That sounds really nice. Actually sounds really, really good. Gently does it, running it in like it was my own car. Respect this car. They very kindly let me take it out from the H Greg Lux showroom, so it's a big thanks for that. To think about it, because I could see doing lots of miles in one of these. It's one of those cars that I could also see wanting to keep in the collection, which is why after I had seen it and seen one on the roads, and I just think it looks really good, I reached out. But of course these things sell a long time in advance, and ideally you would have had a bunch of cars like 911 Targas of previous generations to be able to secure the allocation for it in the first place. And so that makes sense. I don't feel bad about that in the slightest. Obviously I've got my GT4 and my Taycan, and hopefully another Porsche in the future. I like that, you know. It sounds good. It's a quiet noise in the background, but quite a nice noise as well. And that's, you know, part of the daily driving kind of car, isn't it? Anyway, I am going to do the brave move of trying the roof down briefly to get a bit of an experience for what it's like with the roof down, and see actually quite how windy or not it is, because arguably the common sense car would be to have a regular 911 convertible as opposed to the Targa. The Targa adds more weight up top, it costs more in the process as well, and it doesn't obviously as a result have the same dynamics as the regular 911 equivalent. That's a really nice feeling to the shifter. A really nice feeling. So I'm going to hope that this red light is going to last for 19 seconds to do the roof. It's currently red. It would help if I go to the right place for the button. Here we go. It's still red. This is the challenge, because I cannot move while this is in motion. I will have to wait until it finishes. It's gone green. It's gone green. But it's going to be a while until the cars in front of me have gone. Oh dear, come on roof, come on roof. These days you want... There we go, done. And we still haven't moved with the bus up ahead of me. Oh well. It turns out I lost absolutely nothing out of that. I was genuinely worried what was going to happen there. So you've got the manual spoiler at the back. In fact, let's go into Sport Plus. It probably gets even louder versus regular normal mode, although at the moment one very loud bus in front of me. Oh, there we go. More by way of burbles. 911s are very, very clinical. They do everything exceptionally well. Perhaps in a way that's where they lose a little bit of their excitement, because sometimes perfect isn't so emotional. But obviously, the history of this car, if you think back to 356s, and many of these nods go back to those, and all of the different 911 models, obviously, that have come throughout Porsche's very illustrious history, are all things that tie in to modern cars. And we're in an era where many cars don't have a connection, and being able to link back to the history really gives it something that you otherwise don't see. I'm trying to work out where I'm going to go. It's really a case of learning as I go. I've done 3 miles and I'm reluctant to do many more. Probably turn around and start to head back at the next junction. Now we can be a little bit more fluid out in the open. It just connects very, very nicely. It is quite windy. As soon as you build up a little bit of speed, very aware of the wind noise around. It's not blustery in the cabin, but with the deflector up top, which does do a good job of making it less blustery, it also makes it a little bit noisier in the process, obviously with the disturbed air that you have up there. We go back into sport mode. I think I prefer, get a little bit of turbo sound out of it. I think I prefer sport probably so far. Obviously Sport Plus, even more dialed in, but slightly harsher as a result. Got a speed hump. Let's hope we're not too low. All good. I like the Heritage link back to having a manual gearbox as well. I mean, manuals aren't going to be around forever. Obviously, save the manuals, but with the technology and the way dual clutch gearboxes have developed, they make very little sense other than for a purist experience. But a lot of this car is about that. Heritage link, pure experience, and feeling part of the car with this very bright interior. It's a bold look. You just instantly feel comfortable. There's quite a short throw on the shifter. You're not kind of looking around for it. It's in a great position. You've got reverse up to the left. Just makes you want to play around through it and hear some of those burbles. Yeah, you know, I think it looks really cool with the Targa roof. But as soon as you get to 45 miles an hour or so, it's pretty noisy up above you. There's a lot of wind noise rushing off the buttress up there, and obviously you feel the air. And I mean, that's because back in the 60s this wasn't, or 60s, 70s and different iterations, this obviously wasn't top priority, and it was a very different world in terms of introducing a car like this to the market. I wonder if I've got time to put the roof back up. This is where I'm just going to chance it. Come to a stop, roof process, let's go. It's still red at the moment. Got very used to cars being able to do this while you're on the move, but of course, considering the weight and the strength of the mechanism, it's a very different game with this car, because if you were moving, it would be stretching the components and causing potential issues there. Now, when you finish doing the roof, it doesn't do the windows back up. There might be a second touch or something you can do to make that happen. Inside though, it's nicely equipped. It's a 992, right? It's got all the touchscreens, fewer of the touch buttons than were found in, say, the Panamera and other cars that have them all in the central console. It's all operated through this screen. The screen feels a little bit like it disappears behind this part of the dash, which I find a bit odd, so it's hard to press at the very bottom of it. And also, while you're driving, the steering wheel obscures your view of the left and right parts of the screen, which is very, very odd. Obviously the left doesn't matter so much. It says 91 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's clearly getting hotter very quickly. On the right, your temperatures and your fuel gauge, you can't see that from the driving position. When you're just sat here, you have absolutely no idea. So you can't see that at all, and I find that particularly odd. You can change the screens though. You can have your navigation, for example, should you wish, over on that side. Lots of different trip information, driving modes, settings, and being able to cycle and scroll through everything up into 5th. Of course, 7th will be your overdrive for just chilled cruising on the motorway, highways, taking it easy, whatever it might be. But it's all these details. I love how much thought has gone into it, has gone into making this. And I know the colour scheme might be too much for some people. It is quite garish, it is very bright. You obviously get a little bit by way of reflections off the windscreen, mostly in the centre, so not so much of an issue. Nothing right in front of the driver, but that's normally the problem when you have a bright colour for the dashboard or for the stitching or something like that, but it's not too much of an issue in here. And it just feels really nice. It feels really, really, really nice. And had I been able to purchase one new from the dealer, I think I would absolutely have loved it, and probably it would have become, I'm going to say my daily driver, except I rather expect it would have become my girlfriend's daily driver. Not that that would have been a problem. And maybe we should still continue or think about a normal Targa as well. Obviously these command such premiums, and there's only one car I've ever bought for a premium in my life, which was the SLS Black Series 6 years later, so not exactly with choice. I think it's more fun when you've been able to spec the car yourself and be able to purchase it from new, but obviously if you want one now, the only way to get it is that way, for example, and to be able to enjoy driving this. Back at base a few miles later, C8 coming in from the other side. Short little drive, but a very fun one. It's a cool car, it really is. I like this a lot. I do prefer it in the red to the chalk, although that has become a very popular colour option. A couple of gentle miles to experience a car that could have been. It is hard to get the head around quite how hot it is here in Florida. Hot and humid, but this is one special car. I'd like to show you also up front, just for the moment. The key, by the way, is also painted in the same as the body colour, which is very nice, a detail you can do on all Porsches. If we pop open this, find a catch, it comes with a specific cover for the purpose as well, fitted car cover, and you've got a decent amount of luggage space up front. It's a 911 after all, daily usable, take it to the shops, take it on a road trip, whatever it might be that you want to do. That was very hot. That badge just burnt my fingers a little bit. It is, yeah, sun-burning weather. I also notice that it has these slightly green valve caps on it. There's also a special paint that's used for the black that you have on the calipers. Normally Porsches have the red for steel brakes or the yellow for carbon ceramics, whatever it might be. But that is one very, very good looking thing. But I mentioned earlier also some of the cars that they have inside here, and I think we should go and take a very quick look. Have a look inside here then. The showroom at H Greg Lux. We'll go for a quick walk. These are just some of the cars that they have, starting with the legendary Ferrari LaFerrari. This is a car that has done very, very few miles, immaculate, followed up by the Mercedes SLR McLaren Roadster, perfect Grand Tourer, lovely with the roof down. Then another convertible, the SLS AMG Roadster from Brabus. In fact, the Brabus carbon fibre kit you can see on the exterior, new wheels as well, cream interior against the white paintwork. We've got a pair of Lambos at the back, but this obviously grabs my attention, the Ferrari SF90 Stradale. This is an Assetto Fiorano car with the painted livery, also with the carbon fibre wheels, in Giallo Modena with the red interior, the red with the yellow details. We've got the carbon wing at the back, the stripe that goes over the roof. I cannot wait for mine to arrive early next year. Then we've got a McLaren Senna. Check out this one. A fairly subtle exterior, navy blue paint. You do have the purple calipers, which give you a hint of what's to come. Then you take a look inside. Purple carbon fibre for the dashboard, for the seats, for all of the carbon areas. That is quite the specification coming through. We've got a PTS 911. In fact, we've got a whole series of 911s, including a Speedster, one of the 1,948 of those. The other Heritage Design Edition Targa in the cherry red. This one doesn't have the optional livery over the top though, as you can see. No door roundel, no blades over the wings, but inside the same dual tone, in this case though with the PDK, with the shifters on the back of the steering wheel as well. And next to that, 991.2 GT3 in Guards red with the bucket seats inside. But as I say, these are just a sample of some of the cars. We've got the Huracan Evo just tucked in there towards the back, just a sample of what is available from the stock here at H Greg Lux. The display continues. 570S Spider, we've got a 720S, we've got another 720S, F12 Berlinettas, 3 of them, new Maybach S-Class, what do we have? Lusso, Cali T, 488 Spider. I'm not going to try and list off every single thing. Corvette C8. We come through this way, a couple of Uruses, 4x4 Squares, Cullinan, Maybach GLS as well. That's lovely. 1960s GT500, AMGs, more 911s, the Rolls Royces, Phantom, Ghost, Dawns. Coming back here specifically because that's solar beam yellow, the color that I'm doing on my AMG GT Black Series on this GT Roadster. And it looks awesome. There's an R8 RWS back there, the rear wheel series, limited edition version of those. You get the point. These are just, again, some of the cars. A small part of what they have in stock. Well, it's time then for me to go and give the keys to this Targa back to the guys here at H Greg Lux, but a big thanks for the opportunity to be able to experience this car, something that is absolutely lovely and, to be honest, quite surprising in a very positive way as well, in terms of being more involving and more dynamic than perhaps I expected. Obviously the manual gearbox is a very big part of that. Not that the PDK isn't exciting, but the manual just makes you feel that little bit more connected with the car, and given how this is such a link back, all of these special details, to me that's how it should be. A manual Heritage Design Edition Targa is a very, very nice car indeed. 992 lucky customers, 3 of them customers of H Greg Lux, when they've collected these cars before long. For now though, I enjoyed that drive. A big thanks to the team here. Hopefully I can come and visit again in the future. Do go and check out their links. I'll pop them down below, and check out some of the cars that they have in their awesome inventory as well. A lot of different cars, a lot of different specs, and many different 911s of all of the various derivatives as well, including the Speedster, GT3s, and many more. For now though, a bit of shade, a nice break for a second. I need to head off, go and cool down, because Florida and Miami are far too hot for a British person like me. For now though, I enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Do let me know if you think one day one of those should be in the Shmeemobiles. For now though, that is all. Thanks again, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers.